Charles McCall in Cheyenne, Wyoming. We're going to learn about the art of fishing and tell some fish stories and how to catch some of the huge fish that you see here and over on the wall, the types of flies that we'll be tying or we'll be using in the summertime and in the wintertime. Started fly fishing, when I was just a little kid. Used to really enjoy taking my dad's old bamboo fly rod out. He had little short hip waders at the time, and I was just a little short kid, so we had to roll them over just so that I could wear them. But every once in a while he let me take that fly rod out, and it seemed like that just made my whole day to get to be able to go fly fishing. I do a lot of fly tying on my own. I started that about 45 years ago, I guess, maybe, or more. I tie a lot of natural flies, and a lot of the materials that I get from people that I work with, as well as being a hunter. I save a lot of the feathers, the hide from deer. This is deer hide. I've got plenty of pieces of elk that I've saved. And what I do every year is I'll take a few pieces of the hide and save it, clean it, just cut it in small pieces and use that for the various parts of the fly. I like the natural because it seems to float real well, and most of the flies and bugs you see out there are natural. They're not rubber legs and that kind of stuff. But the synthetic stuff does work. I'm just not a real fan of it. A lot of times I'll tie a fly and I'll look at it and say, well, I wonder what would happen if I stuck a red tail on that thing, and then I'll take it out and try it. First thing we got to do is put the hook in depending on the type of fly you want to tie. And then this one's is a floater, so we're going to use deer hair or elk hair. I went up on Christmas Day by myself, I fished granite, and there was an open hole there where the water comes in from the stage 2 line. We want it to stay on top of the water, so I'm just going to start we'll start with the thread on there, and you just wrap it that way and then wrap it back over itself. I had caught several fish that were of the 20-inch range, and at that time you could only keep one fish over 20 inches. And then I always like to cover the hook, because that old hook is real shiny and it's real slick. Anyway, I had a clothes bag, and I had a 24.5-inch rainbow in that bag, and it was in the water, so he was staying alive. And I hooked onto one that was 25.5. I'll just take a little swatch of elk here and cut her off. Inside the hair, and you see it coming out there now. If you leave that stuff in there, it gathers the water and won't float. I went up and let the one that was 24.5 loose, and I put the 25.5 in there, and then I continued fishing. I'll bring my thread up and I'll just pinch it in between my thumb and finger. And then we'll make several other wraps around that. Finally, I hooked a big one, bigger than the one I had in the bag. I got him out from under the ice 2 times, and on the 3rd trip, he just took off, and that was the end of it. Every step, want to glue it, because as you're tying these things, if you don't glue them, and you're flipping your fly out there several times, it's going to come apart on you. I never did get to see him, how big he was for sure, but I know he was bigger than the one I had in the bag. But now we're going to take one of these turkey feathers. There's one side. I brought the one home in the bag, and my wife said, that's a pretty nice fish. And I said, yeah, you know, I'd like to have one on the wall. I want him to look like a bug looks when he's sitting on the water. So we'll cut him. And she said, well, let's go take him down and see how much it'll cost. So just put a little head semen on there. And now we want to do a couple of hackles. And then we'll take those, lay them right up there. And I'll just work that back until we get it up to the front of the eye or the hook. The sticker shock still is in my mind. It's underneath 2 wraps of that thread. Several times I will maybe put a couple more drops on there and then let that dry. And that's the finished fly. And that's a really good floater because of the deer hair out here. It seemed to work really well. At least the fish liked it. That one did anyway. But we went ahead and had him done and stuck him on the wall. And that'll probably be my only fish on the wall. You get to tell the fish story, you see, and he gets bigger as years go on. It's usually the big ones that always get away. But the fun part is catching them, hooking them, and then playing with them for a little bit and seeing who wins. And it's usually not me, it's usually the fish.